I will warn you guys all, I'm not as
You
familiar
come from
with.
Lake Street,
Lake Shore Drive, yeah.
then on 105.
105, yeah.
You didn't see anything going on?
No, just them putting up signs.
Yeah.
ADA.
Have no idea.
No, nothing that would give you
I
any.
finally found out what those white painted arrows
What
mean.
are they?
They had
Are
a
we
truck.
You're all set.
okay? So we are live now. So we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Any updates to the agenda?
Me.
Okay. And I actually don't have the agenda pulled up. The first one is the paving, correct?
Back Street pumps.
Pump station one's
Pump
first.
station,
That
which
one.
is this one.
Yeah.
So I've got it pulled up here on the screen. This is the one from Laramie Resources for putting in the valves on that screen, on that pipe to stop the backflow. The estimate is $25,403.30. I do want to take note of these lovely little things here and make sure that we've got those on our list of things that we are responsible for. Zach, you're all set with those. The septic truck.
It's got a pretty straight demeanor. Yeah, everything's for those valves, everything's 8 weeks out, so we can go ahead and I figure we can go ahead and approve that. And then at the next one, get everybody situated for pump trucks, excavating and flagging and shit like that.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're aware of the things that we've got.
Yeah.
That we've got to make sure that we have in place for that time period. And that it's not all inclusive.
A couple beers and then
Does anyone have any questions or comments around this?
All in a day?
Should be.
Yeah, it should go pretty good. It's
Yeah.
a dry well, so it should go
Yeah,
fairly well. It should be able to shut off the wet well to go into the dry well.
yeah, and
So the only other thing I'm going to mention to you guys is you're going to have to start watching is, so this is going to drain every bit of your repair bill for the year. I mean, you may have to borrow money to pay for this. You don't have that kind of money hanging around because 25,000 is not the full project. I bet by the time we're done, we're going to be 35,000.
Well, that's what I was kind of
And
wondering
so,
about.
when you're spending money on, outfitting trailers and all that stuff, you're going to have to start paying attention to that because you don't have those kind of reserve funds left.
Okay.
So just be aware. We have to be careful.
Well, outfitting the trailers, we've already got money in a budget for that.
Well,
Separate line items.
I think what you guys were talking about the other night is way more than what you guys actually approved. You guys haven't ever really provided a whole outfitting budget for that. And so
We should, between the two budgets and the water and the sewer, there was quite a bit in there.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna really need to get an updated budget report and make sure we've got everything before we go making any more big purchases.
right. I just think we can't be very freewheeling in this because and when we get a budget report, we might be okay because I think we collected a good chunk of the past due stuff, which is not going to be in your budget because that was accounted for last year. So we might be okay on that front, but I don't want you guys to freak out when we come back and say you're going to have to borrow money because you don't have enough to pay all this.
If for the trailer we can hold off on some of those.
It's not optional to do.
Like I said, this has to be done. So we just need to be aware of our budget constraints.
Yep.
And that, sometimes we have to do stuff.
Yeah, I understand the budget and that we've got monies in there that's gonna just enough on the repair side, just enough to pay for this. Maybe
this is draining all your reserves, Mark. You don't have this kind of money in your budget for this year. So you're draining all your reserves on the sewer side to pay this bill, unless we're going to go borrow money at the bank. Because you don't have that much in your budget for repairs. Nobody actually brought this up that we were going to have this bill when we were doing the budget last year. And so there was no money set aside for this in the budget.
So
So, I mean, it's
Go
one of
patch
those
over
where
the
we're
top
going to
of
have
it.
to, I mean, and we need to be planning for this going forward. If we know that we're going to have $30,000-$40,000 repair bills that, I mean, we knew that this was coming and we didn't budget for it. So that's, that's something we
Oh, we
got to be
originally
careful
did.
of. We make sure we're looking ahead when we're doing the budget every year, because
you-
you didn't set aside this amount of money.
I'm a little confused, Mike, because originally, when we did the Back Street station, we had approved monies to be set aside for the
Right, but
repairs at Back Street.
But that was done back in 23, and the water board and the sewer board never set aside. They just let that money go away in their budget that year. It's this, that's why, at least on the town side, I always make sure if we've set aside money for something, we create a reserve fund and move those excess funds into that. The water and sewer board did not do that. And so it just got absorbed into your budget. And so, going forward, if we've set aside money for a project and we haven't spent it all by the end of the year, you're going to have to make
we got
sure
to
that
create those reserves.
create the reserve fund and move that money into it so that it doesn't just get absorbed, because that's what happens. Then our budget looked great at the end of the year.
So what you're saying, what I'm taking from this is then, if we're using our reserves for repairs and depleting that, then next year we should be starting to raise the rates a little bit to cover for a reserve fund for repairs.
Yeah, we will have to make
We have
up
to
that
rebuild
difference.
those. We have to rebuild those funds.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because like your sewer capital improvement fund, you only had at the end of last year, you only had $26,000 in that. And there's 15 in the sludge removal, which we're doing sludge removal now. So, and that's being paid for other ways. So that money could be used for that. So we can cover it, but it's going to deplete everything. So there's
Right.
nothing left. Any new repairs that come up this year, we're going to be
Borrowing.
having to borrow from somebody.
It's like everywhere else, we're eventually, it's inevitable that we're gonna have to raise the rates.
Well, and we
So
will.
it's
We
not
need to make
broken.
sure that we're budgeting for it, because we could have put that into this year's budget, and I didn't realize that we were going to have a $35,000 or $40,000 repair bill that was not budgeted for.
So it's not broken yet. What if we just take and pave over the top of it and then deal with it next year? Make sure we budget for it next year.
At this point, it needs to get done. It's been 2 years already. I would just do it. Just know that, anything else we do this year, we may have to borrow it.
Oh.
If something else happens, we're going to have to go out and borrow it, because you don't have any reserves left.
As
On the
far
sewer
as,
side. Water
On the
side,
sewer-
you do.
on the
Sewer
sewer
side,
side.
you don't.
yeah.
No, I understand that. Yeah, we've dragged this out for 2 years. I don't want to drag it out anymore, because the more we drag it out, the more the cost is going to be.
Well, that's just it. Had this been done back in 23, it would
Well, we
have fit
could have
underneath
saved
that
3,000.
budget amount. It's not now. I mean,
No.
this is considerably higher than what was in the budget back in 23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because everything else is going up, steel is going
Yeah.
up, everything is going up. Could have saved $3,000 if we had done it right off.
Is this causing wear and tear on that pump?
Well, it runs more, the
That's-
pumps run more.
Runs more?
No, so
Not short cycle.
those valves are, about 45 years old. They have been extended past their lifespan, useful lifespan.
Slightly.
It's one of those things where it's not broken. So,
But it could
But
be
the- but-
catastrophic.
But the pumps
Yeah.
do run more.
yeah, a little bit
So-
of seepage comes back
So
through.
they're almost as old as our fire trucks then.
Yeah.
They're as old as me. Just for clarification, they're the same age as me. That's a problem. Yeah, so I think we should personally, I think we should just proceed with this and be very aware what's coming
yeah.
down in anything we do. And Zach, if we have, when it comes to setting our budget, anything that you know that's going to have to come up, we should be definitely planning on that. So any other questions on this guy, on the Backstreet Pump Station valve vault project? Okay, then I will accept a motion to approve the bid and proceed with getting that project underway.
I make a motion, we approve the bid. Are we doing both bids right now or just the one?
The
Just the
each one
one.
has to be done separately.
Okay,
And your motion
And-
should probably include that it's to Laramie.
It's
Oh,
Laramie.
I tried to scroll your
Laramie
page up.
Water. Yeah, you can't do that. So the motion, to proceed with the Backstreet Pump Station project for the Laramie Water Resources
For
in
the
the
amount
of $25,403.30. And Mark, you made that motion,
yes.
Second.
and Bruce is seconding it. All in favor?
All right.
Did I miss an eye?
there's only three of you.
I only heard one eye, so I'm
Aye.
like, we're okay.
Zach and I will vote,
Teresa's-
but it doesn't mean anything.
I just realized
Yeah.
that Teresa's probably in the room still taking the minutes, and I don't have to write all this stuff down.
She is not.
Just
Okay, good.
while Zach is here, I want to bring up the fact that after this is done and it's paved, we have to clean up the site, and I'd like to make sure that we can probably use the town to keep the cost down and removing all the crap that's there
Yep,
and reseeding and be done with it.
yep.
Because it looks like a bomb went off there. So that we're still gonna have maybe a couple $1,000s here involved in cleanup. I'm
Okay.
talking about site cleanup.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
like that pile of.
Oh, yeah, that's all gotta go away. That's all stuff that was pulled out of the ground, and we had put in new stuff in the ground to cover the new piping that we had to replace this winter. And all that stuff is still sitting there. So after we get done with putting these valves in and the piping necessary, then that place needs to be cleaned up. That's an eyesore. That can't wait.
Okay.
It's been there long enough.
Heather,
Yes.
I'm the only one here, so that's why I'm not taking minutes, but don't worry
Yep.
about it because I will listen to it afterwards and I'll write the minutes down.
Okay, I was writing it
Okay.
all down for you.
Yeah, no, yeah. Or either way, if you want to just write down the motions and what have you, I'll listen to whatever else and do the minutes afterwards.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, so yeah, just the general cleanup we should be working on and doing that. The next part on the agenda is the paving and asphalt replacement for that open spot on the road, and you guys should still be able to see my screen. The quote is for total of $11,900, includes the grinding, removal of gravel, and then compacting and paving that section over. The note on that one is flagging is to be done by others.
Others?
So I was gonna say, do we have our others?
Yeah,
You are others.
yes.
Golden. Okay. So questions, comments, concerns around this quote, which would go in after we do the other one, right?
Yes.
Right. We can't pave until we do the other. Okay.
Yep.
By waiting this winter, not repairing that with a new hot top, which would have been destroyed anyways with the frost. The original quote that we had this past winter was almost $20,000.
Yeah.
So this is substantial. By waiting like we did, this is substantially a lot less money that we're spending on hot top by waiting. So
Mhm.
I know it's been an inconvenience for everybody in town and the state and everybody, but I mean, we've saved over $10,000 at least by waiting the way we did.
And we had purchased a large amount or fairly good size amount of
Stay, Matt.
moment here, stay mat, to keep repairing that, right? Do we still have any of that left to fill in
Oh,
the
yes.
holes as they develop? Okay,
Yeah.
golden. So if there's no other questions or comments or concerns on this,
Just one question.
Mhm.
But is this price good because of the 8-week delay and the other repairs?
I talked with Phil about that and he was pretty,
He's aware of that.
yeah, he was pretty set on like, this is what it's gonna cost. Everything's 8 weeks out.
Okay.
Like, okay. So as long as we order everything immediately,
Yeah, let him know that he's got to schedule this job. So,
yeah, after we're all done here, we'll give him a call.
Yeah.
Have him pull the trigger on everything.
yeah. Can I make a
Oh, I
motion
think
now?
he was, Zach, I think he
no,
was
we were
asking
asking about the paving
quote.
price.
Is the paving price good for that
Oh,
length of time?
I believe so. I talked with Mark Gray as well about Phil being 8 weeks out, so it was pretty understandable.
And there is that lovely little statement on the bottom of this invoice. This basically says they have right to reserve that right to change their pricing, which most
Yep.
people have those on there. So as we get closer to the date, even though we've gone ahead and done this, we still need to validate the pricing
Yep.
as we get closer.
Okay.
Okay. And Mark, do you want to do that motion thing that you were starting?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the 11,900 as it stands right now for Gray's paving and asphalt for the repairs to Route 105 at the Back Street pumping station location.
And the
second
second,
Second that.
all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
All right. Okay. Any other things that we need to touch base on this morning? Okay. If not, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
so a second.
I'm writing here, guys. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You guys all have a great day. And I'm going back.